Well, you heard it there for yourself. Consumers are really cash-strapped. Now, they will have to be more savvy, though, with their money, and it may even be harder for those already in debt. But the TransUnion Credit Bureau is here to help. It's on a mission to teach the language of credit so that people can start to take back control of their finances. The union's senior strategy and planning advisor, that's Lesedi Masha, joins us in studio now to talk us through all of this. The reason you're here, Ms. Masha, is to help us, right? Yes. We're one of those that are very indebted. Yes. There are 25 million credit active South Africans. Out of that 25 million, how many are using credit responsibly?
So 60% are using credit responsibly. 40% are actually managing their credit very poorly. So that's about 10 million South Africans that are not managing their credit correctly.
It's no secret that consumers are indebted.
Yes.
The question I want to ask you is, what's the total figure owed to creditors by those who are in debt?
It's around 1.8 trillion rands.
South Africans owe to lenders?
Yeah.
Wow. And defaults and judgments?
Yes.
That is, that's a scary thought.
It is.
For any consumer.
It is.
The question, though, is how do you turn the situation around? Once you've had those words used in any of the documentation you receive from your creditor or from your lender, how do you turn around that situation?
So I think the first thing is a consumer must know that there is help. And there is a way to get out of it if you're in the situation, and even before to avoid it. So maybe let me explain the difference between a default and a judgment. So a default occurs if you haven't made a payment in over 3 to 6 months. So what the credit provider will do is notify the credit bureaus that you have defaulted on a payment. A default will stay on your profile for a year or up to the point where you've paid it in full. If you realize by looking at your credit report that there is a default, you can actually either contact your credit provider and get the letter of confirmation, and then contact a credit bureau and log a dispute. And in that way, it speeds up the process. It takes about 20 days, and that default can be removed. But on top of that, before a credit provider can log a default against your name, they give you a 20 days written notice. So again, we urge consumers, every 12 months you can get a free credit report. When you get those written notices or as you check your credit reports, make sure that you don't have those defaults against you.
Once those names, default or judgment against your name, how does it impact on you accessing credit again?
Yeah. So, I mean, it can impact you in several ways. One of the ways is obviously it will impact you if you want to make any future requests for credit. It will be harder. Also, it increases the cost of credit. So if they realize that you're not someone who's responsible for your credit, it will increase either your interest in that, it will be harder and it will be more expensive for you to get credit. A third thing is it does affect employment. Now, a lot of people, whether you're applying for the financial services sector, for example, if you have a default or a judgment against your name, that will affect actually your employment and your possibility of getting that job.
Let's talk about the people who give out this credit. These are the lenders now.
Yes.
They've often been accused of extending this credit line irresponsibly. Are they helping to alleviate this situation, or are they making it worse?
I think in some respects they are helping. I mean, there are a lot of algorithms and things that go in where we check the consumer's behavior. So credit is not just freely given. There are a lot of things in the back end where credit bureaus and credit providers do go through quite a bit of information to make sure that you can manage this obligation. But at the end of the day, I mean, it is in the consumer's hands to take accountability. Goli, I didn't explain judgments. I explained defaults. Let me explain judgments. So judgments are more serious than defaults. And judgments occur when you really have not taken notice to the credit provider's written warnings, you haven't called the credit provider to make any payment arrangements, and you've failed to basically meet your obligations. So what the credit provider does is they ask for a judgment, a court judgment actually, to be issued. This happens through a summons letter. And what happens is consumers don't defend themselves. They keep quiet. We're very fearful. We don't approach the credit bureaus.
And that's the word you've just used. Apparently, many people are gripped by fear because they simply don't want to know perhaps how much they are in debt. And that makes them fearful.
And that puts you in a worse off situation. If anything, the more proactive you are, when a credit bureau gives you the summons letter, go to court, because a judgment can be granted in your absence. And a default listing occurs actually before the judgment is even granted. So consumers, you know how we are. We don't answer our calls. If it's a private number, all those things actually put you in a worse position. So what we're urging consumers to do is, first, check your credit reports. Every 12 months you get a free credit report. If not, if you get a letter of summons or your address changes, notify your credit providers or the credit bureaus. And when the letter comes in or the calls start coming in, don't be afraid to answer the calls. Make a payment arrangement so that it actually fits your wallet, rather than now you have a default against the name and all those consequences we discussed earlier are then now part of your life.
Lesedi Masha. Yes, you've explained a lot, and I thank you very much. And just to give assurance, I will start answering my phone. Okay, I will not avoid
answer your phone.
Thank you very much for your time. That was Lesedi Masha. She is a TransUnion Credit Bureau advisor. Still.